let's talk about land trust now. And again, I'm going to talk about land trust, but really most, if not everything I'm going to say also applies to the personal property trust or the paper trust, because like I said, I lump them all together. Obviously, revocable trust, because we've talked about that. Revocable, you can change it. You set it up, you draft the trust, you name usually somebody else as the trustee. There's nothing illegal about you being the trustee, but one of the main purposes of this land trust is to preserve your anonymity, right? Somebody's got 100 houses. Do you want your individual name on the public record 100 times, looking like a big fish, right? Let's say you also want to negotiate the purchase of 20 different parcels to combine into one giant subdivision. Do you want neighbor number 2 and 3 and 4 and 19 to know that you're out there like Monopoly collecting the whole street? I don't think so, because what are they going to charge you? A heck of a lot more money, right? So in fact, Walt Disney did this when he was accumulating the land in Florida for Disney World. He bought every parcel in a separate land trust with separate trustees, so they all looked like just one-off sales. So nobody would get the picture that he was amassing a giant tract of land for a commercial venture, because they would have charged him more, right? So land trusts are used for anonymity quite often. I mean, that's one of the main purposes. Well, if you want to be anonymous, you don't be your own trustee, because who is the real property deeded to? The trustee. So if I had a land trust, 125 Main Street Trust, and Mary Hart is the trustee, my deed is going to read to Mary Hart as trustee of the 125 Main Street Trust. I just lost my anonymity. So most people pick a financial friend or someone with a different last name, at least, to be their trustee. Now, those trustees can be removed if it's set up right. They can be changed and all that. But, probably don't name yourself as the trustee. So you set up this trust. The land is conveyed to it, the real property. But all the control and benefits, this is how this is different from an estate planning trust, by the way. All the control and benefits are held by the beneficiary. The trustee, in most cases, is not allowed to act unless it's upon the direction of the beneficiary. Remember I said in the estate planning trust, most beneficiaries don't even know they're beneficiaries. He's my beneficiary, my kids are. You think they could call me up and say, Mom, I want you to sell that asset? Mom, I want you to distribute that? No, don't think so. But in a land trust, if he were the beneficiary of my land trust and I were a trustee, which I wouldn't name myself, I have to do what the beneficiary says, right? So if John sets up a land trust and he names Mo as his trustee, Mo just has to sit there with his hands tied until John gives him a direction, a power direction, do this, do that, do this. There's one exception, which is in some states, where I said every state a trust is valid. In some states, to have a land trust be deemed valid and not totally looked through, the trustee has to be given some actual duties outside of being directed by the beneficiary. It's something called the Statute of Uses. It goes back to medieval times. We don't need to get into it, except to say that in those states, if we know those are one of those states, we have to give that trustee some actual duty. Collect rents, evict people, whatever it is you want to do, without having to get the direction from the beneficiary. But that just is in those states.
What about North Carolina?
North Carolina is not a statute of use state. Okay, so where am I? So this land trust, or paper trust, whatever you want to call it, is not only anonymous because you don't have your name hopefully on the deed, but the trust document itself prohibits the disclosure of any information about the trust. It prohibits the disclosure of the names of the beneficiaries, usually of the names of, well, you can see the assets, but it prohibits the disclosure of the beneficiaries. Is mostly what it is. And I know people, a lot of you know Steve Zahala. Steve tells this story. He was a land trust trustee for a friend, somebody, and that person got sued for some stupid lawsuit. And Steve gets called on the stand as the trustee, and the plaintiff's attorney is trying to get him to disclose who the beneficiary is, because they want to know if it's a deep pocket. How many lawyer fees should they pay to keep chasing this beneficiary? They don't even have any idea who the beneficiary is. And Steve got on the stand and says, I'm sorry, I'm prohibited from disclosing that. And the plaintiff's attorney, of course, went nuts and asked the judge to order Steve to disclose the information, and the judge tried. And Steve, who's quite brave, I'll put it that way. That's the nicest way to put it, I guess. Steve, who's quite brave, looked at the judge and said, well, Judge, if you instruct me to do that, I'll do it, but that will be a breach of my fiduciary duties, and I will expect you to indemnify me for all damages that is caused to me when the beneficiary sues me for breaking the terms of the trust. You know what the judge did? Don't answer the question. They never found that the information was gone.
That exact thing happened to me in California.
Yeah, same thing happened to JB, he says, in California. So,
I answered it the same way.
yeah, so that's one of the benefits of it. But what I would caution you is name a trustee who'll have the cojones to say that to the judge. You get a namby-pamby trustee that's quakes, you know, you're going to lose it. So pick, yeah, that's right. Right, pick the right trustee. And you know, you don't have to compensate the trustee, but I would. I mean, I put in, $500 a year or something. I want to make it, a real thing.